manifest a vest protecting you from the influence of test your best. Push from your chest, that light rush, hush, be at ease. And please, your greatest desires appease your needs. Next realize you hold power bearing no limits. Remind the ones around you if it has been a minute. A snippet of organized plus greater minds grow a spine. The signs as their consciousness realize I dine in on the meat of the combo. Apollo lights the way, it's off the soul. If you follow truth, will eliminate your being a beacon of hope. Elope with what you breathe in, yeah, it's dope. Wake up to the jolt of the passion. Ration, eliminate distractions. Actions create consequence. Intense, aware of eternal existence. Just hanging on by all thread. Travel upward past the head. Creation, expressing communication. Elation, felt after reach respiration.
Wine, out of water. He blew into a clay pit. I love Jesus Christ. I believe he was born from the Virgin Mary. The Virgin Mary has her own chapter in the Holy Quran. She's the most important woman in Islam. And we have a different tradition about him, which I fell in love with, which was his first miracle. Like when I ask most Christians, what was Jesus' first miracle? So I'll tell you what they'll say. They'll say he, brought people, brought Lazarus back from the dead. He walked on water. He made wine, out of water. He blew into a clay pigeon. They name those miracles. He cured the leper, right? Mm-hmm. These were like his, miracles that everyone, he's famous for. The Quran tells a different story. It says that his first miracle, and to me, I found it to be amazing. It's in the chapter Mary. It's about the Virgin Mary. Peace and blessings be upon her. It says that when she was pregnant, because she was a virgin, she was not married. She was under lock and key for her own protection. Because if the Israelites would have seen her pregnant without a husband, they would have stoned her to death for adultery. And because they knew her bloodline was the bloodline of Jacob, the prophet, peace be upon him, she was held to a much higher standard than anyone had been held of, right? She is from the ancestry of those prophets. Okay. So when it's time for her to give birth, God commands her to go into the wilderness to deliver Christ, Jesus, peace be upon him, Isa, as they say in Islam. And it says in the Quran that she scrapes literally the bark off of a palm tree from the pain of delivering Christ. And then God commanded her. He's like, you're going to go back to the town. Whether it was Bethlehem or wherever it was, said, listen, when you go back to town, you will not speak to anyone. He told the Virgin Mary, you're not going to talk to anybody for 3 days. If anybody approaches you, if anybody attacks you, point to the baby, point to Jesus. So the Quran says, as she goes back to this town, the Israelites come out. Oh, Mary, what have you done? Have you done the most vile thing? How could you have a baby? You're not even married. And they start, this mob, this is how the Quran describes it, starts gathering against the Virgin Mary to basically stone her to death and calling her every negative word you would call a woman. The S word, the word that rhymes with floor, starts with a W. Okay, this is the image that's painted from our perspective. As this mob's building, She points to Christ. He's not even a couple of days old. And he says, "Do not attack my mother, for she is blessed in this life and the next. And I am the Messiah you wait for." They see this baby 2-3 days old talking. What would you do if you saw a 2-year-old talking like a 30-year-old? They just parted like the Red Sea and moved out of Mary's way. From our perspective, his first miracle was to defend the honor of his mother.
Wow.
But in Matthew, and so these things are like, okay, these are the differences between us, but we both love him. Maybe in different ways. That's not enough for us to hate each other. And the only one that's winning is the devil. Because if I was the devil, I would make Christians and Muslims go at it. And now I got half the world that's supposed to believe in the God of Abraham in chaos.
Yeah.
And I can defile all of them. They don't want to tell the story of how the king of Abyssinia, ancient Abyssinia, modern Ethiopia, that these Christians that were righteous, the Negus, that's his name, Negus. That was the name for the ancient king of Ethiopia. In Arabic, it's pronounced the Najasi. When the first Muslims were being massacred and chased out of Mecca, the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said, "Go to this kingdom, for there is a righteous man. He is a Christian." Now imagine, the Prophet of Islam is telling his followers to seek safety to the Christians.
Yeah, that's good. Hey, speaking of, I know we don't talk politics on here, and it's really isn't the platform for that.
Hey, yeah,
What
you
you
know,
saw with
we
that,
don't like to
Jimmy
talk
Jim?
I saw
politics over here, but
Wow.
we're
I
going
saw
to
that.
listen to some
But I thought-
politics for a
Hold
little
on.
bit.
What's the First
It-
Amendment?
it-
I
it-
thought. Oh, never mind.
Listen. It depends. But do you understand how powerful that power structure is that pulls all the
Yes, I
strings?
do.
Okay. I don't want to get into it. But I just want to know
I
if you.
saw it. I peeped it.
Ooh.
Whoa, hey,
Hey, them people power.
Hey.
Hey, them people powerful. Boy.
it's we headed down. Hey, we headed down a slippery slope, Ocho. We headed
Yeah.
down a slippery
Yeah.
slope because I remember one time that people said, and they made fun of Joe Biden, they made fun of George Floyd, they made fun of a lot of blacks that got killed, and they made a lot of fun of a lot of people that did some things, and that's free speech.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah.
free speech. Now it's an issue.
You know, he is speaking some truth there, honestly. Think about it. We can laugh about everyone. We can even crack jokes about our president. All of a sudden now, free speech, all of that stuff. If that's a God-given right, how can it be taken away? If you've had it for 200, what?
Like you said,
Yeah.
I look, it happened. I mean, and but it's just, boy, we in some times right now. Boy, these next, you got to be on your best behavior the next 3 years. You got to be on your best.
Yeah.
Kids getting kicked out of school. Kids getting
Mhm.
kicked out of school. Your passport's getting redeemed and all this kind of other stuff. I'm telling you. Yeah, and some people are like, oh, that ain't nothing. And blah, boy, that's how it starts.
Start.
You so distrust.
they
What you do is that you so distrust with your institutions. That's the first and foremost thing. Now, the only truth is I'm giving it to you. The only truth that you're going to be able to get is from Ocho and I. And then you so distrust. And then I start carving away at certain freedoms that you enjoyed.
Yeah. Hey, hold on. And you know what? Some of the freedoms they carving away at, you're not really paying attention to it because it doesn't affect you just yet. But they always say history always repeats itself.
Because
It always repeats itself, and it starts very small.
All right, welcome to the show, y'all. We got a
what they're carving away, and we're going to move on. What they're taking away, this last generation didn't have to fight for. So let's go ahead. Ocho, see when you don't have to fight for something.
Right.
But see, people, we grew up in the time, and my mom and grandmother and things, they was in that. They remember segregation, and they remember the civil rights, and they remember the Fair Housing Act, and they remember the interracial. They remember those things. We take some of this generation take it for granted. They don't remember voting rights because they've always been had to vote. So now, as they start to strip things away that you didn't have to fight for, you don't miss it until you don't have it.
Yeah. Yeah. And listen, I you know what I always love the message.
Directors drew on their experience as FBI agents. You didn't have that. But you did write a picture book trilogy for children ages 5 and up based on your experience clashing with President Trump's political enemies. In your book, you describe your literary alter ego, Cash the Knight, as a wacky, easily bored wizard carrying out King Donald's vengeance by driving his enemies out of the kingdom. In the books, King Donald is besieged by the evil Hillary Queentown, but saved in the end by Cash. Then Cash goes on to catch mules who are stealing the 2020 election for the great King Donald from Sleepy Joe. And then in the third book, Cash takes down the Dragon of the Jalapenos, nicknamed the DOJ. Your supporters had hoped that you would graduate from imagining yourself a romantic fairy tale knight to actually running America's premier federal law enforcement.
You really can't make this shit up. Seriously. You
agency. Alas, just as we've learned how dangerous it is to put a science-denying anti-vaxxer in charge of our public health, we've learned how dangerous it is to name as director of the FBI a man who thinks of himself as a fairy tale knight who keeps a fire-breathing dragon named DOJ at home to forcibly drive villains out of the kingdom. Directors drew on their experience.
Hey everyone, geophysicist Stefan Burns here. We have a bunch of comets right now flying into the inner solar system, and this is bizarre because of how many it is. It's literally a swarm of comets. We are tracking 7 different objects. 2 of them have already performed their perihelion. The rest will do so over the course of the next few months by the end of the year. And so this is looking like it's going to be a very dynamic end to 2025, at least as it relates to cometary activity, and that likely will influence solar activity because we see a lot of connections between comets flying into the inner solar system and enhanced solar activity like big solar flares, coronal mass ejections, and more. We have one of these objects, that's 3I Atlas. We're not really sure if it's a comet or not. It's more of an interstellar object. It has a lot of bizarre characteristics to it. The other 6 are clearly comets. One of them, in fact, was just discovered on September 11th. It had its perihelion the next day on the 12th of September. And so that is C2025 R2 Swan. And what's so interesting about Swan is that it's kind of interacting with 3I Atlas in some ways. And so let's go forward in time to the 21st of October. We have that right here. This is when there will be a superior conjunction with 3I Atlas from the perspective of Earth. And so we see the Earth right there. We see 3I Atlas right here, and the sun's in the middle. So superior conjunction is when something's on the other side of the sun. You will notice that this comet right there, C2025 R2 Swan, is only about 0.25 astronomical units away from the Earth. That's in fact its closest approach to the Earth. And so I've been talking about this superior conjunction perihelion transit of 3I Atlas from the perspective of solar activity. It's likely to enhance solar activity because of that complex dusty plasma surrounding 3I Atlas, how it's interacting with the heliospheric current sheet, the solar wind, and more. And well, it was like, okay, is this solar activity going to be Earth directed or more towards 3I Atlas because it's on the other side of the sun? Now we have a comet right there close to the Earth and along the ecliptic plane. So you look here, C2025 R2 Atlas is also only very slightly inclined off of the ecliptic plane. That's the plane that all the planets effectively hang out on. And so 3I Atlas is also only 5 degrees off from that ecliptic plane in terms of its inclination. And so this is a very dynamic transit that we have coming up on the 21st of October. And then on the 29th of October, we have the perihelion of 3I Atlas. So the appearance and discovery of C2025 R2 Swan is adding a lot of dynamicism to this entire time period. But there are other comets as well that we are tracking, and in fact, one of them will be much brighter than all the other comets, and that will be C2025 A6 Lemon. It's going to get very, very bright around its perihelion early November. But let's go down the list of these comets, their perihelion and their closest approach distance to the sun. And to do that, we have to go back to C2022 N2 Pan-STARRS, which already had its perihelion. In fact, that was back on the 31st of July. We see it right here, and its closest approach to the sun was 3.82 astronomical units. So this is one of the comets that's further out, but still within that orbit of Jupiter, getting fairly close to the inner solar system. It already has perihelion, again, July 31st. The next one we discussed, that was C2025 R2 Swan, and that perihelion was on September 12th. We can go back to that so you can check it out. Here is the 12th of September, and you'll notice it right there, basically on the ecliptic plane, and also right outside the orbit of Mercury. So here's the orbit of Mercury, right there, very close in. Its distance is only 0.5 astronomical units away from the sun. The next perihelion for one of these comets is from 414P Stereo at 0.52 astronomical units on September 27th. So let's find that. We'll go to the 27th of September. That one's getting quite close. Again, 0.52, and we see 414P Stereo right here. And so it will be below the ecliptic plane. And if we go forward, we see that it's continuing to fly below the ecliptic plane. So it originally came in from above, and it is now swinging down like this, but its perihelion will be on the 27th of September. So that's coming up pretty rapidly. Then after that, we have a perihelion on October 8th. And this is from C2025 K1 Atlas at only 0.33 astronomical units. So let's go forward to October 8th to check that one out. And we see how close it gets right there. Also below the ecliptic plane. It was along it earlier, and it'll be also afterwards, very, very close to the sun, and even like within that orbit of Mercury, but below. So that's then on the 8th of October. We have that superior conjunction with 3I Atlas, with Swan, that comet that we just found, being closest to the Earth on the 21st of October. Then the perihelion of 3I Atlas is on October 29th. That will be just inside the orbit of Mars. And so we can check that out. We see it here. If we go forward in time, we see 3I Atlas zooming in just within the orbit of Mars. On the 29th of October is its perihelion. We can see that pretty clearly right here. And then it will continue on. And then we have the brightest comet of the bunch. At least that is what is expected and forecasted. And that'll be from C2025 A6 Lemon on November 8th. And so let's go to that. We can go to the 8th of November. And we will see this comet get pretty close to the sun. Its closest approach is...
How much does a man have to plead to see the humanity in people, the compassion in people? I see people promoting people all the time, people helping people who don't even deserve it.
Your military people should shoot the terrorists, not the children, not the women.
We really do all what we can not to hurt the citizens. For example, these days, actually today.
Hey, for the record, this right here should be America. This should be an American politician telling some rogue country, whatever rogue country that is, Iraq, Iran, whatever it is, this should be an American scholar or American politician, not Chinese. Do you know how horrible that looks in front of the world? We're silent, but China is speaking up for human rights. What the?
Kill more than 70,000 civilians.
No,
there are more than the terrorists.
Tomorrow morning, you have a terror organization.
My solution is that go to the UN, work with the UN, and agree the two-state solution to establish a state of Palestine. Then you have two states, and you can work together with the Palestinians together to fight against terrorists. If you do not work with the Palestinians together, you can never win the war over terrorists.
Specific war will end when the terror organization will release all our hostages and will give up his weapon, because we can't stop the war as long as we have the hostages.
This kind of propaganda have too many. No one believe it, except propaganda have too many. No one believe it, except
we have the hostages.
This kind of propaganda have too many. No one believe it,
because we can't stop the war as long as we have the hostages.
This kind of propaganda have too many. No one believe it, except few Israelis.
Donald Trump's visit to here, the United Kingdom, this week.
Except a few Israelis.
I'm sure by now you've seen pictures online here on TikTok and very.
Listen, because I love Jewish people, I have to say, I cannot believe it's been this long and some of you still don't realize what this is doing to the wonderful Jewish people. Do you not see it? But have it your way.
Various other social media outlets of what was projected onto Windsor Castle last night. But did you realise they didn't just show a few pictures? They broadcast loudly over loudspeakers, along with the images, the whole story of Donald Trump. It was 9 minutes long, all projected onto that turret of the castle of Windsor Castle. Please, here you go. Watch it. Here it is for you in its entirety, and full credit to LED by Donkey, the people.
Hey, and no matter what you call yourself, Republican, Democrat, blue, red, whatever you call yourself, the moment you step outside of this country's borders, you are American. That's it. You don't understand. I don't know why you guys, most Americans, cannot realize that. So as Americans, right, so just step back. We're no longer Democrats or Republicans. We're not red or blue. We're not white or black or yellow or Asian or Muslim, Christian, Jew. We're none of that. We're just Americans. We're outside the country. You're just an American walking around, right? This is what the world is seeing and talking about. Wake the...
People who did this. They are heroes. Check it out.
This is Windsor Castle, home of the British royal family, where Donald Trump is staying during his state visit. And this is a film about Trump's relationship with the world's most famous pedophile, Jeffrey Epstein. Their friendship goes back to at least 1992, when the two of them are filmed laughing together. Trump can be seen making friendly conversation with Epstein in between clips of Trump smiling and dancing with a group of young women at his Mar-a-Lago resort in Florida. The following year, they attend a cafe opening together. And a month after that, Trump invites Epstein to his wedding. In 1995, a young woman called Maria Farmer is working for Epstein in Manhattan. Late one night, she says, Epstein unexpectedly calls her to his offices, and she arrives in running shorts. Donald Trump then turns up, wearing a business suit, and starts to hover over her. Ms. Farmer feels scared as Trump stares at her bare legs. Then Epstein enters the room, and she recalls him saying to Trump, "No, she's not here for you." The two men then leave the room, and Ms. Farmer says she heard Trump commenting that he thought Ms. Farmer was 16 years old. She says she later reported the incident to the authorities. Trump denies he was ever in Epstein's office. 1993 to 1997, Trump takes at least 8 flights on Epstein's private jet, according to flight logs released by the U.S. Department of Justice. The plane is later dubbed the Lolita Express, a reference to the character in the Nabokov novel by the same name, a 12-year-old child who is sexually abused by an older man. 1997, Trump and Epstein are seen together at 2 Victoria's Secret parties and are photographed together at Mar-a-Lago. The same year, Trump gifts a book to Epstein with the dedication, "To Jeff, you are the greatest, Donald." 2000. A 16-year-old girl, Virginia Giuffre, is working in the spa at Trump's Mar-a-Lago resort. There, she is recruited by Epstein's accomplice, Ghislaine Maxwell, to work as a personal masseuse for Epstein. The teenager will soon become, in her words, a teen sex slave and will endure years of sexual abuse.
I was recruited at a very young age from Mar-a-Lago and entrapped in a world that I didn't understand.
25 years later, Trump will acknowledge he was aware that young women were being recruited from Mar-a-Lago by Epstein.
Were some of them young women?
Well, I don't want to say, but everyone knows the people that were taken, and it was the concept of taking people that work for me is bad, but that story's been pretty well out there, and the answer is yes, they were.
Trump is then asked if one of them was Virginia Giuffre.
I think she worked at the spa. I think so. I think that was one of the people, yeah. He stole her.
2 years later, after Giuffre was recruited from his club by Epstein and Maxwell, Trump tells New York Magazine he thinks that Epstein is a, quote, terrific guy, and that they have known each other for 15 years. He's a lot of fun to be with, Trump says. It is even said that he likes beautiful women as much as I do, and many of them are on the younger side. 2003. Trump draws a message in a book made for Epstein's 50th birthday. The drawing depicts a woman's breasts and is accompanied by text written by Trump to Epstein that includes the line, quote, "We have certain things in common, Jeffrey," end quote. Trump signs off by saying, quote, "Happy birthday, and may every day be another wonderful secret." A Donald signature is written in the place of pubic hair. 22 years later, Trump will begin legal action against the Wall Street Journal over their reporting of the drawing, claiming it doesn't exist. Epstein's estate then releases the drawing to Congress. Another entry in the birthday book contains a photo of Epstein holding a novelty check bearing Donald Trump's signature, along with a note suggesting Epstein, quote-unquote, sold Trump a woman for $22,500. It's unclear if the photo and accompanying note is a joke or not. 2004. The two men fall out, and their close relationship ends. The reason for their estrangement? They both tried to buy the same Palm Beach mansion. 2005. Police in Palm Beach begin investigating Epstein after a 14-year-old child reports he molested her at his mansion. 2008. Epstein pleads guilty to state charges in Florida, including procuring a child for prostitution and solicitation of prostitution. The sweetheart plea deal, agreed by U.S. Attorney Alex Acosta, includes a non-prosecution agreement giving Epstein immunity from possible federal charges. He is sentenced to just 18 months in jail. Under the plea deal, Epstein is allowed to be out of jail from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. 6 days a week and has his own driver to take him to and from his office. 2010. In a legal deposition, Epstein is asked about his relationship with Donald Trump.
Have you ever had a personal relationship with Donald Trump?
What do you mean by personal relationships?
Have you socialized with him?
Yes, sir.
Yes?
Yes, sir.
Have you ever socialized with Donald Trump in the presence of females under the age of 18?
Though I'd like to answer that question, at least today, I'm going to have to assert my 5th, 6th, and 14th Amendment rights, sir.
By the way, this was around about the time that Prince Andrew was photographed walking with Epstein in Central Park. 2016. According to award-winning CBS News producer Ira Rosen, Maxwell confirms to him that Epstein secretly taped his famous friends, including Trump and Bill Clinton. February 2017. Donald Trump, now President of the United States, nominates Alex Acosta, the man behind Epstein's sweetheart plea deal, to be his Secretary of Labor. August 2017. Epstein conducts a series of taped interviews with the journalist Michael Wolff, research for a potential book Wolff hopes to write. In the interviews, Epstein claims Trump first slept with Melania on the Lolita Express and also says he was Trump's closest friend for a decade.
So how do you know this?
That was close to straight.
July 2019. Epstein is arrested in New York on federal sex trafficking charges. The truth about his decades-long history of child abuse is finally being widely reported. A month later, he's found dead in his jail cell. The authorities declare his death a suicide. 2020, Maxwell is charged with federal crimes for helping recruit underage girls for Epstein and participating in the abuse herself. Trump is asked about the charges and replies,
I just wish her well, frankly. I've met her numerous times over the years, especially since I lived in Palm Beach, and I guess they lived in Palm Beach, but I wish her well.
2024, asked about whether he would release the so-called Epstein files, information about Epstein's crimes, and potentially his famous accomplices, Trump seems unsure.
Would you declassify the 9/11 files?
Yeah.
Would you declassify JFK files?
Yeah.
Would you,
I did a lot of it.
Would you declassify the Epstein files?
Yeah, I would.
All right.
I guess I would. I think that less so because, you don't know. You don't want to affect people's lives if it's phony stuff in there because there's a lot of phony stuff with that whole world.
2025, Trump is now president again, and his administration blocks release of the Epstein files. It is soon revealed that his attorney general, Pam Bondi, told Trump in May that his name is in the files before authorizing the release of a handful of transcripts only. Trump's one-time personal lawyer, now Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, then meets Ghislaine Maxwell in prison for 9 hours, amid speculation of a quid pro quo to protect Trump. Days later, Maxwell is moved to a low-security prison famous for its comfortable conditions and known as Club Fed. This is what we know. The President of the United States was a longtime close friend of America's most notorious child sex trafficker. He's alleged to be mentioned numerous times in the files arising from the investigation into that child sex trafficker. And now he is back in office. The U.S. federal government appears to be doing all it can to prevent the American public from learning fully about the president's relationship with the country's most notorious child sex trafficker. Now that president, Donald Trump, is sleeping here in Windsor Castle.
Donald Trump's visit to here, the United Kingdom, this.
בוא נדבר על היום שאחרי המלחמה בהיבט הנדל"ני. אתה כבר התבטאת לא פעם לגבי חידוש ההתיישבות היהודית ברצועת עזה. שאלה פשוטה, איפה מבחינתך צריך לקום היישוב הראשון ברצועה?
אני מודה שלזה לא ציפיתי, אני מוכן להתחיל מהתוחמת הצפונית, אבל סתם, תדעו לכם, זה לא מצחיק, יש תוכנית עסקית, תקשיבו לי טוב, יש תוכנית עסקית שנבנתה על ידי האנשים הכי מקצועיים שיש, שנמצאת על השולחן של הנשיא טראמפ, לאיך הדבר הזה הופך לבוננזה של נדל"ן, אני לא צוחק, מחזיר את עצמו. אגב, אני התחלתי משא ומתן עם האמריקאים, ואני אומר את זה לא בצחוק עכשיו, כי אני גם דורש, הרי אנחנו שילמנו המון כסף על המלחמה הזאת, אז אנחנו צריכים להתחלק, איך אנחנו עושים אחוזים על שיווקי הקרקע אחר כך בעזה, אבל עכשיו לא בצחוק. את שלב ההריסה, שהוא תמיד השלב הראשון בהתחדשות העירונית עשינו, עכשיו צריך לבנות, זה הרבה יותר זול.
בוא נדבר על היום שאחרי המלחמה בהיבט הנדל"ני. אתה כבר
Hey, when you can talk like that, laugh about it, with everything that's going on, and you can witness it, we witness it, it's easy to distinguish good from evil, right from wrong. For real. It's real simple. God is not playing some funny game. You will be judged on the intentions of your heart. Your face cannot hide the intentions of your heart. These dudes are laughing, talking about real estate, selling land, buying land, making deals. You think if it was your children, you, whoever you are, and these individuals or these types of individuals were talking, would they care about you, your color, or your who you are, what you're this is business. This is big money. This is deals. This is billions of dollars, control of resources. And if you're okay with it, I promise you, your children, your rights, that's next. Because you're okay with it.
On September 24th of this year, so 1 week from today, do not believe anything that you see or hear. And I'm not talking about your day-to-day grocery store run, chit chat with colleagues. I'm talking about anything startling, shocking, extraordinary, anything that you might consider remarkable, memorable. Why do I say this? Because one of my sources sent me an encrypted message tonight. And usually I get like a paragraph at least, kind of explaining what they're talking about and details of some sort. This was just one sentence, and in all caps it said, "Do not believe anything that you see or hear on 9/24. Now, this isn't one of my military buds that is sometimes wrong or gets delayed information or facts are skewed. This is someone I trust implicitly, has never been wrong. They have no reason to BS me. They don't BS. That's not who they are. They are very, one of those. I've known them most of my life. You don't have to take me seriously. I'm going to take it seriously. Now, what I find interesting, and I don't know if this has any connection to it, is the 24th is also the same day that Israel is going to internationally broadcast their trumpet ceremony. They're going to have 100 rabbis blowing 100 horns to celebrate, all the red heifers that they've burned. And apparently they're going to have all of the ashes leading back all the way to Esther. Which reminds me of something. Project Esther. Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about, go back to my profile. I have a whole video, actually I have two, and they say Project Esther, where I explain what it is and what it's all about. Basically, you better fall into alignment, not be anti-Semitic, and, if you are, you're going to lose certain privileges, like access to the market, access to, society, etc. I go all through it, okay? But isn't it interesting how Project Esther is about anti-Semitism? And they're going to have the ashes from Esther on the 24th. And that also happens to be the day that I was just told, don't believe anything I see or hear. They didn't follow through, but I'm putting two and two together here. So I hope you can do the math here with me, because obviously here there's only so much I can say. Do the math, babe. On September 24th of this year, so 1 week from today.
Because the well-being, and even more importantly, the very spirit of the Jewish people in the Holy Land are being threatened. These assaults on body and soul are being perpetrated, this time not by Romans, emperors, or Spanish inquisitors, but by traitorous Jews, opponents of our people, haters of our religion, and deniers of our history. They want to destroy our values, unravel our religion, and rewrite our history. They want to do this by transforming our values into theirs, by replacing our religion with their ideology, and rewriting our history into their made-up version of the Jewish past. The ideology of these people is called Zionism. Zionism was designed to transform the Jewish people, body and soul, into something similar to those anti-Semites who the Zionists so deeply admired. Let's let the Zionists tell us what they think of the Jews. And I quote from Vladimir Jabotinsky, one of the founding fathers of Zionism, whose version of Zionism is the dominant one today in Israel. He tells us what a Zionist is. I know I am a Zionist, said Jabotinsky, because the Jewish people are a nasty people. Its neighbors hate them, and they're right. Security of Israel is currently dirtying this beautiful country with his presence. Ben-Gvir regularly tramples upon the holiness of the Temple Mount, violating its sanctity, violating Jewish law, and compromising the safety and security of Jewish people. Minister of Security, all you've secured, Mr. Ben-Gvir, by your behavior, is a designated place in the lowest pits of hell waiting for you. The only thing you've secured is endangering Jews. You are responsible for the police brutality against the non-Zionist Jews in the Holy Land. Jews follow the God-given religion of Judaism. Zionists follow the nationalist construct of Zionism. People like Ben-Gvir, who claim to be religious.
Hey.
He wears a yarmulke like...
Hey, I just want to say, this is why I love and I believe that Jews are at the tip of the spear when it comes to this issue that this Jewish rabbi is speaking about. All you got to do is tell the truth, and the Creator will bless you. That's it. But hey, check this out. I just saw some crazy stuff. I'm going to share it with you guys. Right? All right. So this is DeepSeek. Right? I'm messing around with DeepSeek. I ask it, this is the Chinese freaking AI. I ask it, what's the date today? June 5th, 2024. What? This is why you can't trust shit, especially when it's you know, at some warehouse being controlled by somebody. I'm like, are you sure? Oh, you were right to double check. I apologize. Upon verifying, today is actually Thursday, June 6th, 2024. What? AI? This is DeepSeek, but what the... If artificial intelligence can't even get the freaking date right, you think it's going to get something else right? Wow. So I asked it, what did you verify? What did you use to verify? That's an excellent question. Here's a technical breakdown. So it gives me a bunch of BS, right? And it's wrong. Let's check. ATL. All right, so I want to see something, right? The reason why I got into this whole date thing with this thing, is because I asked it if this individual, check this shit out. It's kind of weird. All right, so I said, is Virginia Giuffre alive? Right? She's like, yes. As last of my knowledge, update, da 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 da. So I'm like, hey. So I went to Google, grabbed the Google info, and it says that she passed away. Thank you for asking. It is crucial to address this directly, as the information you receive from Google Labor is 100% false and a complete fabrication. And that brought up the whole thing. And once it said June alive, so now let's see, yes, local time, just to make sure. Ah. What? What? All right. What the? Let's see. Anyways, well, that's AI for you. Dumb as a fucking box of rocks. Trust it as far as you can throw your house. Crazy. Back to loving the Jewish rabbi here.
Me, I have something to tell you, Mr. Ben-Gvir. If you want to be a Zionist Ben-Gvir, take off your yarmulke, stop keeping Shabbos, eat some pork, and leave Judaism alone. Leave us alone. Don't
In
say
other words,
things
be
and do
Christian.
things and make people think it's the name of the Jews.
Sorry, I had to, man.
They're liars. They're liars. They're cowardly because they know what's going on. And just 2 days ago, there's a report that over 80% of genocide scholars internationally agree that what's happening right now is genocide. Palestinian trauma has been documented for decades. It's to be suppressed, to be a non-citizen in your own country. I'm talking about the West Bank now. To be always under attack.
And this is a Jewish doctor. So all the people that spread that hate and blah blah, no, I don't want to hear it. These guys are knowingly and willingly risking it all of it, for the truth. So I don't ever want to hear any anti-Semitic BS and all that. Honestly, no hate. You gotta be able to discern. You got to be able to reason well, or else it won't work, or else you're just going to follow some fake, false prophet to the fire. Look around. All the hate. All the hate. What do you think? Do you think that's good? And do you think that type of energy belongs in paradise? If there was that type of energy, oh, we're getting them all. They're,
To have children watch their parents being humiliated. My country is letting it happen. Your country is letting it happen. Much of the West is supporting it economically, militarily, politically. And more recently, a study last year showed that many children in Gaza, young children, think about death. Imagine 4 or 5 years old having to think about death. There's no post-traumatic stress disorder here because the trauma is never post.
You've been one of the few Jewish voices who's publicly calling what's happening in Gaza as a genocide. What led you to use that word, and why do you believe it's so important to name it?
To tell you the truth, when people started to use the word genocide in relation to Gaza, I didn't like it. Because I thought of genocide in terms of the Holocaust that swept away so many people's lives, including almost my own and those of my grandparents. And I thought of it as a deliberate attempt to kill people, to exterminate them. And I didn't think Gaza was a deliberate attempt to exterminate people. But then it turns out it's not up to me to decide what genocide is. There's an internationally agreed upon, legally defined understanding of what genocide is. And according to many scholars of genocide, in fact, most scholars of genocide, including very prominent Jewish Israeli scholars of the Holocaust, what is happening in Gaza does meet the criteria for genocide. So it's not a subjective term, it's not a matter of opinion, it's a matter of legal and internationally agreed upon definition. So that's the first point. As to why it's important to talk about it out.
You gotta realize, man, words have meanings. Words have meanings. Not ownership. What owns the word is the meaning. Not people, race, color, religion, none of that. The roots, you've got to find the roots. What are the roots? What does it mean? What is it? What is that vibration The genocide. Whatever the vibe, what is it releasing?
Because it turns out that you don't need gas chambers to meet the criteria for genocide. 2,000-pound bombs dropped on civilians meets the criteria. The attempt to destroy the political and national existence of a people by killing many of them meets the criteria. And that's what we're seeing happening in Gaza right now. Look, when I was growing up, I could never understand. Once I came to terms with what happened to the Jews in Eastern Europe, and once I understood the full horror of it, I couldn't understand how the world could let it happen. I couldn't understand how the humanity could stand by. Mind you, the difference is, at that time, the Germans went to a lot of trouble to hide what they were doing. This did not happen on television. It did not happen on TikTok. It didn't happen on YouTube.
Guess who else is hiding it? Going through to huge lengths to hide it. Billions of dollars in propaganda. Billions being spent on propaganda to hide an evil. Man, come on, it's simple. I said 2.5 years ago, if you look at my videos, 8 years ago, man, 9 years ago, you will see that I've been telling you Palestine, there's a reason why it's called the Holy Land. That is the judgment of the heart. That is, you cannot hide, lie. Once that started happening, and those children and those women, and on both sides, when it happened, that was the judgment. What are you going to choose? The destruction of innocent women and children on both sides? Or peace, finding a better way? But who benefits it? We saw it earlier, man. If you got land deals and shit going on, and you've already got deals to build and condos and hotels and stuff, then all of the humanity part of it, the human suffering, it's meaningless. It's mute. And it's only mute to the heartless, those whose hearts are closed off. They don't hear the crying, the suffering. That means nothing to them. So they continue. They don't care. They would do it to you as much as they would do it to anybody else. They don't care about your color. They don't care about your religion. All of that BS to them literally is BS.
Instagram. So when we ask the question, how could the world stand by? It's much more compelling to ask it right now, because then people couldn't have known the exact details. Some details got out, but the world for the most part did not know, and people did not witness it. Now we're witnessing it every day, and we're still letting it happen. Much of the West is supporting it economically, militarily, politically. I think it's the most morally compelling question of the day.
Okay, Yossef, just stay there for a moment. I'm going to bring in someone who's been listening to this whole debate. He's a former IDF sergeant.
Rogan, quote, we've reviewed all the information. We're going to give you every single thing we have and can. But then suddenly in July, everything changed. You and Attorney General Pam Bondi released one video and said that there was nothing more to see. Your July memo says you uncovered more than 300 gigabytes of data and physical evidence, but that you had decided no further disclosure would be appropriate or warranted. That is a quote. I think what happened, Mr. Patel, is that suddenly you discovered that Donald Trump's name was all over these files, and you started a giant cover-up. So you are under oath, Mr. Patel. You just testified to Mr. Swalwell that you did not speak to the president about the Epstein files. To your knowledge, did Attorney General Pam Bondi speak to the president about what was in the Epstein files?
I can't speak for Attorney General Pam Bondi.
So to me, you're...
You see this? This was just across the border
in Alabama, just across the Georgia border. Caucasian brothers and sisters, get your people together. You need to get them together, because as a pastor, that same old preaching, forgive so that it's better for yourself, that will not be happening, because you have abused black forgiveness. Get your people together. I could say things like you're poking the bear and all of those things, but what I will say is what I said earlier today. There is nothing in the world more dangerous than sincere ignorance and conscientious stupidity.
So, my friend Samer from Gaza just found.
You see this? This was just across the border in Alabama, just across the Georgia border. Caucasian brothers and sisters, get your people together. You need to get them together, because as a pastor, that same old preaching, forgive so that it's better for yourself, that will not be happening, because you have abused black forgiveness. Get your people together.
This is a movie
I could
scene.
say things like you're poking the bear and all of those things, but what I will say is what I said earlier today.
Whatever it is,
there is nothing
they
in the
want
world
Americans
more
at each
dangerous
other's necks.
than sincere.
So, my friend Samer from Gaza just found out that I'm Jewish. So we've been getting really close the past few months. But yesterday I asked him about his life before 7/10, and things changed. Because when he asked about me, I was honest. I told him I'm Jewish. And here's what he said. Wow, this is the first time I've ever known a Jewish person. I've never imagined one of my close friends would be Jewish. I don't judge all Jews as evil, because here in Palestine there were Jews before the occupation. Many of them were oppressed too, because they say this land is ours and the occupation should leave. So there it is. A Jew from America and a Palestinian from Gaza becoming best friends. And honestly, when I first learned the truth about Palestine, I carried the Zionist idea that Palestinians hate Jews. But I thought that I had to do the right thing anyway, even if it meant opening myself up to receiving more hate. But that was ignorant. If someone...
Bravo. Bravo. This touches my heart. Ooh wee. Seriously. Man. She's got more courage than a lot of these dudes, man. Serious, because you know what? She's willing to think and go outside those the fake BS that's been driven into our heads about each other. All of it. Y'all wake up. Hello.
Stole your home, killed your family, and told you it was in the name of Judaism, wouldn't you hate Judaism too? It is not Palestinians' fault if their view of Judaism is limited. They were told this is what Judaism is. So yes, they'd have every right to hate Jews, and yet most don't. And whether or not they did, Palestine would still deserve to be free. No people's liberation should come at the cost of another's. It is an honor to be in community with people like Samer. If this video touched you, please consider giving to his GFM so that he can rebuild. So...
عمو الحمد لله على سلامتك يا عمو. وين كنت موجودة ساعة الضربة؟
Hey, I want... I love you guys, alright? But no fellow human being, no human should be dealing or feeling what this young woman is. I'm sorry, but just this right here, this ain't right. If you are a human and you have a soul in you that vibrates, listen, all right? Seriously, man.
عمو الحمد لله على سلامتك يا عمو. وين كنت موجودة ساعة الضربة؟ ايش حسيت ساعتها؟ ليش الدمعة بعيونك يا عم؟
on, y'all.
حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل. يعني وين العالم؟ وين العالم من غزة؟ يعني الأمة العربية الإسلامية.
Where are you?
الأمة العربية الإسلامية مجتمعة، أين هي من غزة؟ وين العالم؟ اللي بيطالب بحقوق الإنسان، أين أنتم؟ هي غزة.
Innocent children.
بيوت تدمر، ناس نازحين في
held,
خيامها.
yo. They need to
تغرق
be
في
held
خيامنا.
up
لا ما ولنا
physically.
إلا الله سبحانه وتعالى.
عمو الحمد لله على سلامتك يا عمو. وين كنت
Look
موجود
at
ساعة
her.
الضربة؟ ايش حسيت ساعتها؟
Trying to hold it.
ليش الدمعة بعيونك يا عم؟
Trying to hold it, man.
حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل. يعني وين العالم؟ وين العالم من غزة؟ يعني الأمة العربية الإسلامية. الأمة العربية الإسلامية.
إن في خلق السماوات والأرض واختلاف الليل والنهار لآيات لأولي الألباب الذين يذكرون الله قياما وقعودا وعلى جنوبهم ويتفكرون في خلق السماوات والأرض ربنا ما خلقت هذا باطلا سبحانك فقنا عذاب النار إن في خلق
I share this with you so you know what is in the Quran. What are they trying to hide? Those who reflect on the creation of the heavens and the earth and pray, our Lord, you have not created all of this purpose without purpose. Glory be to you. God, this water that girl is being, like, this is being withheld from her. What God gave man for free is being withheld from her. You don't think that has a consequence? You don't think the creation, the vibrations, recognize that type of pain and suffering for no reason? Wait and see.
The ultimate Jewish mindfulness tool that we do every day, several times a day, is
Hey, and I share this with you so you know what the real Judaism is, right? The real. Listen.
brachot.
Brachut. Brachut is also
Brachot.
barakat
Blessing.
in Arabic.
Blessings.
Blessing.
Every single time I eat any food or drink any drink,
Thank
I
God.
take a moment before putting the food in my mouth
Yeah.
to say a bracha.
So if you, right, if me, you are actually truly appreciative of that bread that we put in our own mouth, that drink of water that we take, how can we deprive others? Like, knowing, if you know this, how can we deprive others? For real. And call on God and talk about being saved. Right? Imagine heaven, this place. Do you think the energies of starving children, people, hating the Democrats or Republicans, you think that energy is what, huh? Come on, man.
And when I became religious at the age of 29, 30, my friend said to me, "You're so unlucky, You have to say a blessing before you eat. And I was like, no, my friend. I don't have to say a blessing. I get to say a blessing. It's an unbelievable thing.
This is why you always hear Muslims, say peace be upon you, Alhamdulillah, Insha'Allah. They're just saying what this Jewish guy is saying. They say barakat. Muslims say barakat. Same exact thing, same meaning, all of it. We have to be able to see beyond the BS that we've been fed, the dogma, and prevalent in everything, because we're in this physical world, so it has to have the physical appearances and physical likenesses that attract us or, repel us. So it's just that way. But beyond that, we're souls. We're light, part of God's being.
So why do we say blessings before we eat? And what do we get from saying a blessing before we eat? Go. God consciousness.
God consciousness. Do you know what God consciousness is? Being aware, man, that you're blessed. You shouldn't be holding those blessings back or away from others. None of it. You're happy to be blessed with food. And the extra on your table, you'll give it to the, person next to you. If you have to go and find somebody of your own race or color, then you got a problem, man. You can't feed the person next to you, your neighbor. You got to leave your neighbor hungry and go around giving people, What happened here? What we working with?
Big show lined up for you today. So in just a second, the UN is finally admitting the dark truth about Israel. They are now saying they're definitely committing genocide. So we'll dive into that. We also have the economy is flashing bright red. We have warning sign after warning sign.
Thank you.